Hello, I just wanted to share with everybody the slideshow I put together of the process of my sons and I building the carbon fiber skateboard. This was kind of inspired by our interview with Gil Lund a few weeks back and his work with the Dreamliner's wings and the F-35's skins. So I wanted to work with carbon fiber, and so my sons and I built a skateboard, and I want to show you how we did it. So first of all, I got some thin 1/8-inch boards, plywood, and I had my boys draw what the outline they thought it should look like, so that we can begin to kind of give it some shape. And then we used some transfer paper so that we could kind of transfer it onto different parts of the wood that we later cut. This is my son continuing to draw, transferring it to the edge so that we could cut that piece of wood in half and then glue it together so we could have two independent pieces to give us some more strength. My sons then took the two halves of the boards with the outlines glued at the eighth inch. We're still going to need a little bit of extra strength. So we glued the two pieces of boards together, and once they were dry, we well, first of all, we put this board over top of it, and we put a 35-pound weight on top of it to hold the two pieces together so that they would stick and lay nice and flat. And then after a day, we took that off and we cut the board. We put it on a saw that allowed us to cut the shape of it. By this time, those two pieces of wood are glued together, and we cut the shape. My son's over here making a kick for the back so you could have a little better control of the steering. This was the process where we began to lay the carbon fiber on the board, on the deck. So these are the strips of carbon fiber. It's kind of expensive. It's way more inexpensive when you can get strips like this. I mean, ideally, I would have had one piece to cover the whole thing, but it was a lot cheaper to buy these strips of carbon fiber. You can see here on the left, this is spray adhesive that keeps the carbon fiber cloth stuck to the board while you're putting on the epoxy. The epoxy resin comes in two bottles. One is the epoxy resin, and is the other one the hardener. And what you have to do is you mix them together really well um, before you spread it on. But before we did that, my son continued to shape the board. This is a tool that we were using to grind down the edges, so that it would be nice and smooth and give it a little bit of shape. My son would wear protective gloves, of course. This tool is called a Dremel. It can sand and cut. He was also wearing a respirator so he doesn't have to breathe in the dust. And of course, whenever you're working with any kind of materials like this, always, always, always wear safety glasses. Then we cut this carbon fiber to shape, and we laid it on the board. I mixed the epoxy resin together with the hardener. You got to mix it really well, and it turns into this clear liquid that you see in this. You can see that we also put the carbon fiber stretched over the deck here. And this is a video of me taking the epoxy resin. It's pretty. You definitely want to make sure that you do not get this on your clothes, that you're wearing some clothes that you don't mind getting messy. You spread that out in a really smooth kind of coat, and you let that dry. Overnight, actually, we did two coats on it just to make sure that it was nice and thick. Then, after that first layer was done, we trimmed off the edges and put the other side on. This is a picture of my son kind of shaping the top edge before we put the top cover on. Then, in order to have wheels, and these red things are called trucks, we took some trucks off an old board that we made years back to put on our new one. Then we kind of placed the trucks on the board to make sure that they were kind of where we wanted them to be and just get a visualization of what the board would look like. And then once we put that top coat on, we put this layer around the edge because I wanted to give the edge a little bit of a protection. We were using black Gorilla tape. It doesn't look very nice, but it's functional. This was the final step. My son was drilling holes in the board, the deck, that would allow the screws to go through and hold the trucks on. My son here is cleaning out the bearings on the wheels so they can roll nice and smoothly. Then we attach the trucks, we attach the wheels, and we were ready to go. We had a finished skateboard, and my younger son was the first one to try it. But the trade-off was that my older son got to ride it down the street for the first time, and this is the video of the run down our street. We have a nice kind of a off the street. We have very little cars that come up and down this street, so it's a very safe place. Lots of kids play sports in the street, so yeah, it worked out great, and I learned a lot with my son. This inspires you. That to be a skateboard, just do something. And along the way, I guarantee that you're going to learn something. So, everybody's doing well.